Hello, everyone. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. This is a new platform we're using. Good evening or good afternoon. We're lucky enough to have families in large groups sitting in community centers and classrooms from all of our provinces where we have Kids Up Front offices. So welcome to all Canadians, families, youth, parents, teachers. This is a very exciting event for us. This is our second Our virtual neighborhood event brought to you by TD. So our virtual neighborhood is a very important part of our Kids at Home program. And what we do is we bring young people together like we are tonight, and we share positive messaging. And again, thank you to TD for generous funding to make this program possible. Also on the screen, you will see Kaleb, who I'm going to introduce shortly, and Javier, who is our Kids Up Front leader in Edmonton, and Larissa, who is our Kids Up Front leader in Vancouver. Those two you will see again because they're going to lead the Q&A after Kaleb's talk. And now to introduce Kaleb. I'm not going to go into his story because he's going to go into his story, but I will introduce him as an incredible model of resilience, grit, and optimism. I recently just read Kaleb's book. It's called Crossroads. There you go. I highly recommend it. An excellent book, inspiring, and you'll hear parts of the story that are in this book tonight. I'm going to read 3 sentences from his book and then turn it over to Kaleb. As I said, Kaleb is a true model for resilience, grit, and optimism, and this short passage really connects to the optimism. In chapter 16, Kaleb wrote, "After you survive a tragedy, it's amazing how much more you notice the little things in life. Everything takes on a new meaning. In the weeks after I was released from the hospital, I started to find beauty in places I hadn't been, started to find beauty in places I hadn't before." That couple of sentences really resonated with me and really connected me to this book and to Kaleb. So now, Kaleb, over to you to tell your incredible story. And thank you for coming.
Hello, Kids Up Front family. I hope you're all having a great day so far. It's honestly an honor to be here speaking today and a part of a virtual neighborhood event. Thank you so much for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. I understand this virtual format is definitely not the same as being in person. But my hope today is I can make it as close to personal experience as possible. But before we start, I want you to write down one feeling you have right now in regards to life. This would be life in general. It could either be focused on some part of life or literally just how you're feeling in regards to life. You could be excited, nervous, tired, enthusiastic. You could be even anxious. But we'll circle back to this at the end. So make sure you save this piece of paper or phone or wherever you put this message on. Make sure you save it and put it right beside you, so we're going to go right back to it. But I also hope that you want to mention that I hope you like this background here. This background has lots of meaning to me. It's actually symbolic in nature. Of course, it's where I played hockey. There's also so much more. My second home, where I bonded with teammates and created a lifelong family. It's also my favorite arena, the Algar Peterson Arena in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. My hope today is to create our own family within this talk, and hopefully leave you feeling ready to pursue your passions throughout anything you wish to desire. First, I want to take you back to my roots and things that helped develop me into the person I am today. It all started back in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, the good old prairies. Some of you are probably like, where the heck is Moose Jaw? And that's okay. It's a city of 30,000 people in the south side of Saskatchewan, And I was born there, lucky enough to have 2 amazing parents, Mark and Nita Dahlgren, who welcomed me into their family. They've been married for 31 years now. And growing up, it was just me, a typical hockey-crazed kid. What do you see in these 2 photos? You might see smiles, out in the wilderness, quad, kids, a hockey player, in arena, healthy, active, happy. Anything else probably want to add, like a nice little grin on my face, teeth clenched, wacky hair. What you don't see is a 24/7 attention to my blood sugar. My parents behind the camera worrying if I'd be okay during the quad trip or even the hockey game. or even me thinking that I'm alone and that I'm alienated by others. As a young child, not having that person to look up to or even talk to, or even just ask questions, or not even knowing if I'm able to pursue my dreams and passions. You don't even see me monitoring every food I might put in my body, or in the middle of the night routine check-ins, or the pain of receiving needles 8 times a day. And for me, that's a life as a type 1 diabetic. I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 4. And it was a difficult time. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't easy. In the hospital, I was getting poked and prodded with needles. A few hours later, the doctor came out and said to my parents, "Your son's gonna be a type 1 diabetic, and he's insulin dependent for the rest of his life." And it was short, blunt, to the point. And my life changed when he said that. And not gonna lie, I didn't like my time in the hospital. I despised it. Think about it when you're 4 years old and you have a sibling, maybe, or even yourself, and cousin, and they're sitting in the hospital and getting poked and prodded with needles. Do you think that's fun? Even right now, do you think that'd be fun? So as soon as I was in there, I wanted to get out. I even said to my parents, "I hate this doctor's house. I'm gonna throw this chair through the window so I get sent home." Luckily, I didn't throw a chair through the window, and I did get sent home, but it was because I was on good behavior, and my parents were able to take care of me. They were both nurses by trade, so they had an understanding of type 1 diabetes and how it all worked. And as soon as I got home, I thought I was home free. I went home, I was so happy. I was finally out of that place where I was getting poked and prodded with needles. Within 20 minutes later, I found I needed another needle. My parents came and said, "Hey, like, we gotta give you another needle. You ate supper." I said, "No, you don't." And they're like, "Yeah." Gave me a needle, and then again another needle that night, and then again another needle that morning, and then another needle at lunch, another needle at supper, and then another needle again at that night. And in the meantime, I did poke my finger, which was another needle on top of that. So there'd be 8 needles in one day. And it was very, very difficult for me and my family. At that time, every time it was needle time, it was hide and go seek, but I didn't want to be found. And I even challenged my parents, saying that, "You don't love me, you're hurting me. This isn't fair. Why would you do this to your son?" And it broke their heart. And after about 3 hard months, like it took that long of battling with my parents, even questioning if they loved me, I realized that I needed insulin administered through needles to stay alive and healthy. And that helped shift my perception and really focus on the positives. Obviously, living with the disease is hard, but having a negative mindset makes it twice as hard. Thankfully, I was still able to live a normal life. I tried to control my diabetes and not let it control me. Fortunate enough, I was able to play hockey at a high level and even moved away when I was 16. And when I moved away, I was playing AAA hockey with North Battleford Stars. But there was also a lot of stuff going on away from the arena. My dad was at home, sick, and was laying on his deathbed. I kept it pretty quiet, not gonna lie. I didn't really tell many people about it. Held it in, and that was my way of coping, was to hold things in. I didn't want to talk about it. No one really knew. Even my best friends didn't know. They'd ask me to hang out with them, and I'd say, "No, I'm gonna stay home," or "No, I can't." I never really provided a reason why. They thought that I was just avoiding them. But every night I would stay home just to make sure my dad was safe and okay. I took care of him pretty much ever since he got sick. For it would have been, I guess, 6 months before I moved away. I took care of him every day. And then my mom, whenever I was gone, took care of him as well. And we had no idea what was wrong with him. But the one thing I really found in this time was when I did move away, it was difficult, but I also created another family away from my home. And it was in North Battleford. They truly helped me through these difficult times. Whether it was joking around at a practice, having my teammate or roommate, or even billet brother be a support when I needed it, or even getting together a team for a little DQ night. These little things can take the emotional weight off a person and bring them to their happy place. I want you to think about that as it can apply to your life and how you can help some of your friends. You may ask, how did I end up as a national ambassador with Jdrf? Well, I had to find the positives in this negative disease as a type 1 diabetic, like how it builds maturity, healthy habits, awareness of what you're putting into your body, independence, and even like strength, resilience, and so much more. I never really tried to use diabetes as a crutch. Rather, I made every reason for it not to be an excuse. And growing up, like I said, I played hockey at the highest level my whole life, and I really want to make sure that diabetes never held me back. I've had coaches joke about it or say that I shouldn't play hockey because it's a high performance sport. I even had one person say I should take up bowling. Like, bowling, really? What's the correlation between that and hockey? Anyways, when I was 16, I wanted to give back to the diabetic community, but my parents wanted me to wait until I graduated high school. I thought of this mastermind plan, and I told them about it. They're like, look, you have so much going on in your life. Like, you need to hold off and just wait until you're done school. And they were right. So when I was 18, I finally joined on to Jdrf, which is Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, as a provincial ambassador while playing hockey in Notre Dame. I've been with them for 6 years now, and the last 4 years as a national ambassador. And while I was playing in Notre Dame, I was really enjoying my time. My whole goal in life was to get a scholarship in hockey and then go to play professionally overseas in Europe and then come back and become a chiropractor. That was my whole plan. That's what I wanted to do. So when I was 19 years old, I was lucky to play for Notre Dame Hounds of Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League and was named assistant captain. We had 8 20-year-olds. And that's quite an honor as a 19-year-old. And I was going into my final year, I was supposed to be named captain, but I still didn't feel fulfilled on the inside. And if you look at it from the outsider perspective, you're like, okay, well, he's got the grades in school. I was very well academics. I was doing great in our university courses. Had the personality. I had great leadership skills to be at that level, an elite player in the next level. I also was going to be named captain of such a prestigious program. I was playing at a prestigious program. I was at one of the top junior places that junior hockey players would like to play. But for me, I just wasn't fulfilled. And it was because I wanted to start this dream program that I thought of when I was 16. But I just knew that it couldn't happen there. I just knew that that wasn't the right spot. It was a town of 400 people, and we didn't really get many fans. And the whole idea of this program was to raise awareness around type 1 diabetes. And so at the end of the season, I ended up going up to my coach and asking for a trade. And I got traded to a bigger center, which is about 5,000 people. And I was able to start my dream program, Dahlgren's Diabetes. And some of you are probably thinking, what the heck is Dahlgren's Diabetes? And it's a program I started for children with type 1 diabetes. When I was diagnosed at the age of 4, I didn't have that influential figure to look up to. I didn't really feel like I was a part of anything. I was alone and really told that diabetes would hold me back in hockey. And I created this mentorship program to really build a personal relationship with type 1 diabetic children and to remind them that they can pursue their dreams and passions regardless of diabetes. My message was, I manage diabetes and let it manage me. I want to make sure they knew they were not alone in this battle, and we were all together. I was fortunate to use my sports platform and really generate awareness around the disease and make the diabetes feel beautiful about their difference. I remember in grade 4 even, I was in the bathroom in a stall giving myself insulin through a needle. And one of my classmates walks into the bathroom. And I'm sure lots of you have or haven't had it happen to you, but they looked through the crack in the bathroom stall. And he looked through the crack, he saw me give myself a needle. And he started freaking out, screaming, ran out saying, oh my goodness, he's giving himself a needle. Someone help him. And he yelled that to the whole playground. And lots of people, I guess, turned out stopped and asked him what was going on. And more talk happened. And as I walked to the bathroom, I felt so embarrassed. I felt alienated. I did not feel beautiful for my difference. And so that's what I wanted diabetes to feel comfortable and beautiful for their difference. So what I do is I invite diabetic, diabetes, and their family to Johnny's Bistro for a pregame meal. Then after that, they'd come to the game and there'd be a ceremonial face-off, like right down there, where they get to wear their diabetes jersey. Then they'd watch a game, we'd snag a picture, I guess, and we'd watch the game. And then after game, we'd meet them upstairs and talk to them just about simple things that truly mattered to me, like questions that I had growing up, such as how do you control blood sugars during sports? Is there a difference between practice games and workouts? How do you go camping with diabetes? Do you have to take precautions? Also, do you carry snacks on you at all times or no? And even like, how do you be a diabetic and date? Like, how do you tell your partner that you're a diabetic? Like, these are questions that need answers. And I never really had the answers as a kid growing up. And so at the end of it, I'd go to their school and do a presentation too. And the whole idea with the school presentation was really make them feel comfortable in the space that they were most likely to be in most of the time. So I thought school was the best place because they're in school from at least 9 till 3:30 every day. And I wanted them to feel comfortable in that space. Of course, they probably felt comfortable at home, but at school it might be a little bit different story. So if I was able to create awareness and make them feel comfortable, then that was the goal. And lastly, I put them in a Facebook group chat with all other diabetes to really have a family and a team. And so what matters most to me throughout this program was the connections. And I've made so many connections through this, and the lives I'm able to change for the better. And this program has not only helped the children, but I think it's truly helped me more, as I found that giving back fuels my soul. While I was in Humboldt, we were so tight knit, and we had so many great players on our team who really just embodied our culture. We knew that we had to have good character first, then good skill second. We want to win a championship. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of this team and just really create lifelong bonds with everyone. And away from the rink, we were a little bit of I guess, a tighter bunch than I would per se, I have like ever experienced per se, because we'd have Bachelor Mondays, and there would be 15 plus out of our 23 guy roster. And I remember one night, I think there's 18 or 19 of us all curled up in my billet's basement out of 23 guys, all sitting around watching Bachelor. So like these were like the memories that you'd have. And it's a connection that you don't get on every team for sure. And in Humboldt, I really wanted to be a part of their community. I knew that community involvement was such a big piece for me, and I really wanted to give back. So one of the many inspirations I met within the community was Shane. And Shane is in this bottom left picture here. You can see him under my arm. He's in the black jacket and the green jersey. And so Shane works at Home Hardware, is on the Special Olympics team, was a part of my taxi crew, and is a diehard Broncos fan. And he also lives with Down syndrome genetic disorder. He's one of the most caring, humorous, and loving individuals I've had the pleasure to know. He has such a natural zest for life and enjoys every moment, even wearing his heart on his sleeve. In that time, Shane showed me the value of remaining positive over negative once again. Just how much of an impact it can have on the people surrounding you. April 6, 2018 is a day that I'll never forget. A day where a collision took away 16 people and injured 13 others, including myself, who I consider to be family. And it was just a normal day. I remember everything leading up to the accident. I was row 12, aisle seat. We were on our way to Nipawin to play against the Nipawin Hawks, Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League playoffs. We were down 3-1 in the series, but it honestly could have been 3-1 for us. And we lost 2 games that we had to lead in that went into overtime. So we really did have an opportunity for it to be 3-1. And we knew we had takes in the bus. We knew that we were confident in our group, and we knew that we were going to go and win that game. And so I got doing what I normally do. I have my pregame meal, and then I put on my suit, and I sit down and I visualize what I'm planning on doing that night. And normally in that game, I was in a shutdown role. So what I did was I usually put on music and I tossed in my headphones and put my head down and close my eyes and visualize. And so that's what I did. And everything went black. I don't remember anything after the accident for 4 days. I was in a state called post-traumatic amnesia, where the person is injured and conscious and awake, but is behaving or talking in an uncharacteristic or bizarre manner. And I still don't have any memory after those 4 days of a collision, but I truly wasn't acting myself. According to my first responder, he said I was walking around on the scene helping others. He asked what was wrong. I said my back and my neck. And he said, okay, I'm going to grab a stretcher. Brought me a stretcher, put me on it. And then I said, my name is Kaleb Dahlgren. I'm 20 years old. I'm a type 1 diabetic. As he loaded me into ambulance, I said, thank you for your help. I still can't remember this scene today. I'm not sure if I do or if I don't. The injuries I suffered were a severe traumatic brain injury, a fractured skull and scalp degloving, puncture wound to the skull, 5 broken vertebrae in my neck, 4 broken vertebrae in my back, large blood clots, ligament muscle tears in my neck, nerve damage as well. I even found that I played through season with broken vertebrae and 2 broken ribs. It never really hit my family how severe my brain injury was until my doctor called them and said that I should be in a vegetative state, unable to remember my name or even not know how to walk or how to talk. However, that wasn't the case. But the worst part of it all wasn't my injuries. It was losing the 16 people that I love, who I still today consider family. I was unable to attend any funerals as I was not cleared to leave the hospital. There was no closure, so I do the closure within myself, within old videos and other personal social media, anything like that. People always ask, how have you, like, what has been the best thing that's helped you recover? And for me, what helped me recover the most was really focusing on the things I can control. Believe it or not, I put up this sign you see over here at the start of the year in my 20-year-old season in Humboldt. My whole goal was to get a scholarship, but I knew that was out of my control. And I had to focus on things I could control that would lead up to that goal. And so I put that on in front of my wall. When you first walk in my room, when you first leave my room, it's the first thing you see of that sign. And so I can't control a semi-driver. I couldn't control a tragedy, the injuries, other people's thoughts or reactions, or even why I was here and others are not. And it didn't make sense because the person in front of me survived, the person behind me passed away, behind him passed away, to the right of me passed away, kitty corner to the right of me passed away. It just didn't add up. And so what I can control, though, are my actions, my work ethics, my beliefs, my attitude, and how I honor those who were involved moving forward. See, I can't change the past, so there's no positive outcome by focusing my energy and time on the things I can't control or even change. But it's definitely a hard concept to accept. Think about a time this applied to your life. Maybe it was someone stole your wallet, or you got into an accident and was the other driver's fault, or even you got diagnosed with a disease or an illness. These situations are oftentimes out of our control. However, we can control our reaction to these events. Before the accident, I always try to live my life to the fullest. And after the accident, I have even more reason to do so. For the 16 who are not here. Part of the reason why I do these speeches is to honor their legacy. I want to challenge you listening to this right now. Think of a person who has left your life too soon and ask yourself this question. If I was to switch places with them, so if you were to switch places with them, and you were the one who passed away, how would you want those ones living on earth to live their life? See, for me, if I was in one not here and I passed away, I'd want the survivors that get to see another day on this earth to make the most of every second, to really follow their passions, to not even sweat the little things, and to be truly happy. What would you want? The 6-0 for Humboldt was absolutely unbelievable. And as I was trying to process the tragedy inside the hospital, there was so much global outpouring support. The Canadians and the whole world really rallied around the accident. And I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all your support. Whether that was a thought, a prayer, a message, letters, sticker, ribbons, bracelets, donations, even putting a hockey stick on your porch. Like, thank you so much. This positivity and love truly helped me conquer the negative. As I was in the hospital, I really tried to enjoy the grind. And the grind can apply to so many different things when you think about it. And even my half up, half down hairstyle, my choice of slippers there, probably wasn't the best for my first day of physio, but we made it happen. I was on day 5 after the crash. The whole idea for me was when I took appreciation to enjoy the grind. I got this shirt you see here from Onze Kopitar, and it hit me was that we all have our own grind. Of course, my grind was rehab injuries, dealing with the mental awareness of what had just happened, make sense of it, deal with emotional pain of losing my family members. And I made me realize that there's so many other people with their grinds too. And this could be academics, work, relationships, with even family and friends. It could be parenting, sports, finances, recovering from addictions, injuries, diseases, or illnesses, and so many other situations. But the idea in all of this is really find out positives and enjoy the grind. Even if there aren't that many and they're super hard to find, there'll always be one positive, and that is that you are still here. For me, this is one of the positives that I clung on to. In the hospital, I had such a burning desire to go back to Humboldt. I knew that for me, my main goal was to go back to Humboldt because I wanted to help the community heal from such a tragedy. I was able to permanently leave the hospital in the afternoon on April 27th, exactly 27 days after the crash. On Monday, April 30th, I went back to Humboldt. I was finally able to live out my goal. And honestly, for some of you listening to this, you're probably thinking that I should run away from going back, and that would be the last place I wanted to be. But I really wanted to help the community that I was so in love with heal. And doing this, I'm going to tell you right now, was far from easy. There's so many mixed emotions from everyone, tears of joy and sadness, even smiles of love and hurt. But for me, this is what it was needed to heal for the community and myself. And in my experience looking back on it now, I thought I was helping all these people, but by attending these events, interacting with people, and putting a smile on their faces, it truly helped me heal as well, as giving back is part of my healing process and fueled my soul. This was another spot where I spent lots of time healing. I describe it so vividly in chapter 16 of my book, Crossroads, and it was a place where I was able to reflect, grow, and heal. I took time for myself and just focused on myself, which I think is critical for mental wellness. I'd even argue that mental health is just as important as physical health. I was able to be true to myself, come to terms with what happened, find my happiness in this calming place. Meanwhile, my dream of being a student athlete was still lingering. And not gonna lie, at times it was actually quite scary because we didn't know if it was gonna be even possible. I committed to York University before the crash and was verbally committed to them in February of 2018. However, after the crash, the dream went to limbo. And I had lots of various neurologists and doctors' orders by telling me to not go, but I decided to go. The whole idea for me was wanting to pursue my dreams and passions and also honor the lives that aren't here by following my dreams and passions for them and also taking the risk. Because if I knew one thing, it was that I had to give my all and try university. And the doctors were telling me I was going to fail. They told me I was going to go down a dark path and I'd succumb to like addictions and drugs and all those things. But I knew within myself that wasn't going to happen. And they were worried about my brain injury really affecting me. But for me, if I failed trying my best, then I knew I did everything in my power to really control the things that I could control. But if I let others dictate my future for me and not even try it, it was truly only my loss. While I was at York University, one of the big things I wanted in the school that I was going to have was to let me continue Dahlgren's Diet Beauties. So I crowned my first ever York University Diet Beauty in Humboldt, Saskatchewan on our Marcross Humboldt Strong Tour. We went back, played exhibition games against some teams from Saskatchewan and Alberta. And for me, this was probably one of the pinnacle, exciting things of Dahlgren's Diet Beauties. It just was a full circle. And I say the first one and this one were probably the top ones. And it's just because it means so much to me to still be able to honor where it all started and even continue it. And so for me, my life in York was incredible. I have 16 Diet Beauties now. I also worked with so many different populations of people and groups and really enjoyed my time. At school, I was doing well too. I had made lots of friends on the team. I was succeeding. I was a leader. I never was able to be cleared for a game, but I was really enjoying my time. I would participate in warm-ups here and there, do Diet Beauties events, and really was a part of the team. And then COVID hit. And I know that's different for everyone, and we all have our different experiences. And these times are even still tough right now, and they're affecting our lives in various ways. And these feelings of fear, unanswered questions, fatigue, and unknown is completely okay. Perspective on COVID that I love is that we're all in the same storm, but not the same boat. I'll say it again so it sticks. We are all in the same storm, but not the same boat. Some people may have yachts. Meanwhile, others might have a metal boat with holes in it. Right now, we're all at various points of our life and coping with this, but some may have a peaceful place at home and others might have a difficult situation. Even when times are tough, being aware and mindful of these differences truly will pay off in the long run as we're all trying to navigate the same storm. Being inside most of 2020 due to COVID was actually a blessing in disguise for me, and I've made the most of my time and wrote a personal memoir called Crossroads. This was able to create another community, one that I wasn't even expecting. Through writing, I was able to give back to a charity that I think doesn't get enough credit, which is Stars Air Ambulance, who saved lives on April 6, 2018, but they also save lives every single day. And I was even able to turn open wounds into beautifully healed scars and talk about various topics that I wanted to address, such as hope, family, and resilience, but also mental health, physical health, diabetes, brain injury awareness, death, grieving, sports, perspective, and so many others. And in this process, I truly found strength in being vulnerable. And I used to equate strength as physical strength, like being the strongest in the gym, lifting the most weights, hitting the hardest, or even mentally tough, like getting knocked down, you get back up, or you get put down, don't let it bother you, keep moving forward. But I never really equated it with being emotionally strong, which is invulnerability. And for me, I found that vulnerability gives me strength, and that there's so much strength in vulnerability. And by opening up myself to so much of my entire life up to this point, it was truly humbling and really made me reflect on who was all in my corner throughout all these different crossroads that I've faced, and also knowing that we all face crossroads in our life too. And so for me, writing this book was truly cathartic, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if another book's in the works. I always get asked that question, but I don't think it will be. To be honest, I have other aspirations and goals as well in my life that take precedent. But this really was written to truly help others. I even was asked to write it multiple times. I kept saying no. And the idea was for it to really help others. I was sitting in class one day. I'll kind of go on a little spiel here, but I was sitting in class one day, and at this time, I had turned down a book opportunity 3 times. And I had literally a day left. I was given a week and I had a day left to really make a final decision if I wanted to or not. And it was final and done. There was no turning around and saying, yeah, no, maybe. It was like, this is it, now or never kind of thing. So I was sitting in class and I was sitting beside my roommate and my other teammate, and my professor walks in the room. And I love this professor. He's probably one of my favorite professors I've ever had in my life. I'd probably give it my favorite title. But he walks in the room. He always walks in. He has something to say every time. And it's either something motivational, life changing, statistic, something that really grabs your attention. So he walks in the room, sets down his drink, sets down his books, takes off his coat, looks around the class, walks up to the microphone, and looks me straight in the eye. And I'm front row and center. So I am the kind of guy that loves to be a little bit of a nerd and sit front row and center. And I do with all my courses, and you'll find me there throughout my entire career academically. That's where I like to listen and learn. And that's where I'm most engaged. And so I'm sitting there. He looks me straight in the eye and says, if you want to change the world, it starts with you. And it hit me. Everything just came crashing down on me. And I looked to my roommate. I said to him, I'm writing a book. He looked at me, started laughing. He's like, what? I said, I'm going to write a book. And he had no idea about what was going on. My prof had no idea what was going on in the background. My teammate had no idea what was going on in the background. I kept it super quiet. And it was because I didn't know if I was mentally ready, emotionally ready, or physically ready. I didn't know if other people, such as my family members, my friends, my Broncos families, if they were ready either. But I knew that when he said those words, I was like, I need to do it to help others. So I messaged my agent back, Jeff, who's incredible. And I said, look, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to help others through this book. And so luckily, it all paid off. It's worked out great. Today, I graduated from York University with a commerce degree. Throughout my studies, I earned academic all-Canadian. It was Dean List in all my years for my commerce degree. My motivating factor was really to prove the doctors and many others who doubted me wrong, but also prove those who supported and believed in me right. This wasn't an easy process, and I've had to really rely on the help of my e-reader, academic accommodations, tutors, and devoting way more hours of studies than other people do. And even since my goal since I was 13 was to be a chiropractor, after my hockey career, I can thankfully say that my dream and this goal is one step closer to becoming true. As I've started my Doctor of Chiropractic Studies at Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College in Toronto. And I'm here to say that you can achieve any of your dreams, regardless of age, as long as you follow your passion, enjoy the grind, and create a community to be there with you through it. Before we end, I want to leave you with an analogy of how you as an individual can join collectively to build a strong community throughout this adversity. These lights are a representation of our goals, dreams, and ideas, things that we imagine. When faced with obstacles, our lights start to flicker, even some more than others. And some can regain strength quicker, and others can take time. But we all have our own light. Observe how these individual lights can join together to really build one bright light, which is reflective of a vibrant passion and community. Whatever you wrote down at the start of the session, take a look at it now. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Sometimes you may think that you're alone, not together, anxious, or even incapable. But when you come together as a community and believe in yourself, remarkable things can happen. I personally want to take this time to wish you all the best as you navigate your time moving forward. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. I'm beyond honored to share the same space for this virtual event. Before we move into Q&A, I'll let you know that I'm more than comfortable with any question, and there is no line that can be crossed. I'm an open book, have healed from my adversity faced physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I want to answer any question you may have and be open with you. You can reach through social media after the question and answer period if you'd like to talk to me personally, and I'll respond as fast as I can. Right now, I'm in the thick of exams, so it might be a little while, but I will respond eventually. In saying that, we'll now open up to question and answer, and I'll hop to the hot seat.
Very inspiring talk, and as I said in the intro, so filled with optimism. And I hope everyone who has been able to log in, I know some people are having trouble getting their questions up if they don't have a YouTube account, but we're working on that. But those who can, put your questions in the chat for Kaleb. And again, thank you to Kaleb and thank you to TD for making our virtual neighborhood event possible. And I started the intro with a quick couple lines from Kaleb's book, and I want to share just my other favorite part quickly because it's so nicely tied to our goals with our virtual neighborhood. And it is the Broncos core covenant. Do you know it off by heart, or should I read it?
You should read it. I don't know.
Okay.
It's probably bad.
Okay. It's a good one. Family first. Be thankful for the opportunity to wear the Bronco jersey. Understand that we are building foundations for future generations with our words and actions. Always have hope that everything is possible. Always give more than you take. Strive for greatness in all areas of life. I thought that was a lovely message and in line with, like I said, what we're doing with our virtual neighborhood, and definitely in line with your book and the way you're living your life. So thank you. And I will turn it over to Javier and Larissa, who are going to take the questions and let you answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No, thank you for the kind words, and even to touch on that core covenant too. For us, it doesn't have anything about wins or losses. It honestly has everything to do about being a good person. And that's why I love it so much. And it's something that I try to live by every day. So thank you for bringing that up.
Cool. Let's get you in the hot seat then.
I'm ready to go. I'll put on my little keep in touch thing at the end just for other people who haven't caught it. But I'll toss it back on while they're closing. But I'll continue to be in the hot seat for now.
Sure. Perfect. I want to start with a fun question.
Yeah, bring it on.
After all this stuff happened and everything, you've had the opportunity to spread your message in talks like this through multiple different media, like channels and everything. You've been interviewed a lot by news organizations and all this stuff. What's been the highlight of that side of things? Like what's been one of the things that you've personally enjoyed the most about this particular side of things?
That's a good question. So for me, not gonna lie, it's not like being on the biggest podcast or like anything like that. It's actually the people that I meet. And I find so much joy in meeting specific, like not even specific, just meeting people and hearing their stories of how they've gone through tough stuff in their life and how they've continued on, be stronger and become a better person from it and learn and grow. And even hearing how my story touches them too has been really, really inspirational for myself. And so for me, that's probably the number one thing that I've really enjoyed is the people I've met throughout these journeys and places I've gone to. I've been able to travel in many different places I never would have been able to. And meeting these different wakes of life and experiencing new things is just truly one of the big things I love about it. But at the end of the day, it's the people and how much their story impacts me to be a better person.
I just want to jump in and say, like, your whole story is so inspiring. And I think the main question that I have personally is, I know a lot of people have gone through lots of grief, loss, tragedy. Like personally, I know so many people in my own family, and the biggest thing that everybody seems to struggle with is how to keep positive. And it seems like even before the accident, you've just been such an inspiring and positive, forward-thinking person. And like, how did you learn those skills? Like, would you say, like, would you attribute it to your parents, and or is it something just kind of internally in you that you've always been that way? Or yeah.
That's a great question. So for me, growing up, I was really fortunate to be taught at a young age to focus on the positives. Both my parents raised me to be like that for sure. And with the diagnosis of being a type 1 diabetic, I think that was one of the big points in my life where I learned to find that positive over the negative and to focus on that. And then as I grew up, I had lots of mentors, coaches, teachers, friends, family members who really helped instill that value of me in me. And I think that also comes from being grateful for the situation that you're in. And we're just going to throw us out there, but there's like 8 billion people in this world. And the fact that you have that connection with that single person or those people in your life is truly special. And I think for me, having that gratitude has been really helpful throughout remaining positive, just putting things in perspective and looking at it from a glass half full instead of a half empty kind of perspective. And we get to choose how we react to these situations too. And I think that was one of the big things was focusing on the things that I can control, but even enjoying the grind in life. And life is tough. Don't get me wrong. There's so much hard things that get thrown our way, and especially death. Death and grieving is different for everybody. And for me, I always try to remember the amazing moments I had, be grateful for the time I had with those people. Because like I said, there's 8 billion, and the connection I had with that person is special. And so I try to take something away from it too and carry it on for them and their legacy. And so, as in chapter 16, I wrote a little blurb about every person. I try to instill myself with those values and carry it on for them as well. So I think that's a mix of a lot of things. And there's really, at the end of the day, it's just being grateful for where you are in life and making the most of the situation that you have. Because you can see people that have no arms and no legs still loving life and living it to the fullest. And you have someone who has billions of dollars in the bank and still not liking life whatsoever. So I think it's all about perspective and find what makes you truly happy and passionate about life.
Well, thank you for sharing. It's really, really inspiring. And I for myself, really love listening to you talk. It's making me want to change how I think about my own experiences. So thank you.
Thanks.
A question from the audience. They're asking, you talked about your passions and how important it is to pursue them. How can someone figure out what their passions are if they are not sure? How do you do it?
Awesome. That's a really great question. So for me, I honestly didn't know I was passionate about community service, but it always was something in my life. And so like when I was a young kid, my parents would take me to and from their, I guess, urban residence building, and they'd have me play with the like people who lived in the homes there. And there were different wakes of life. There were some with mentally like challenged. There were some that were physically challenged. There were some that were emotionally challenged. And I played with all of them and played cards. We'd have fun. We'd joke around. And it really didn't, I was super young when we did this. I was like 3 up to like 6. And then I started doing it actually like as a thing from like 7 until I was 18. I still even go back today at 24. But the whole idea for me was just to get acclimatized to that and then find a passion in something that truly means a lot to me. So to find that passion, find about something that you consider important in your life. What is something that you consider? I consider athletics important, health. I consider other people important in my life, relationships. Some people maybe don't, but find whatever something that you consider important and see if there's a niche in there. And for me, it was helping others, and my niche was helping others. I really wanted to make other people's lives easier through my experiences and sharing my experiences with them. So even when I went to the diabetic community, my teammate had diabetes. There were only 2 ones in the whole Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League diabetes. And he asked me, he's like, why aren't you involved with any diabetic stuff? And I said, well, actually, I'm just starting this year. And he brought me along under his wing. So I think if you had a person bring you under their wing too and kind of show you the ropes, that's another great way to get involved. But I think just find something that you want and care about. If you care about climate change, then go in there and find something, like join a group and start to build on that. If you care about other people and you want to make lives easier for other people, and there's a specific niche that affects you, then go and help that. Or if you want to just join something, just to join something, take risks, take chances, and see, you gotta test the waters, I think. Because if you say you don't have any passions, I feel like you do. You just haven't tested it. Maybe try to go for a paint night if you like painting, or might even not like it and never tried it. Like for me, even with sports too, like that's why you put kids in all different sports to see if they're any passionate about one. That's why you put them in music and art and all that. So why can't you do the same for yourself?
Very well said. We've got another question here in the comments. Do you ever think it's okay to sit with your sadness? Do you think it can be beneficial to help you get through a tough time?
I think so, for sure. I think acknowledging that you're sad is a huge concept in itself, and knowing that it's okay to be sad. I was sad in the hospital, and I still have some tough days where it's like you see these old videos or memories pop up and you're like, oh, that's tough. Like, I wish they were here. But then in that sadness, it's what you do with it. You can either let it control you and succumb you and let that be your identity moving forward, or you can accept it for what it is and know that this is okay and natural to feel sad, and then decide how you want to move forward with it. How do you want to deal with it? Do you want to do it in a positive way and say, let's try to make a memory or do something in their honor? Or would you rather maybe go down the bad road and go into drugs, alcohol, addictions, and things that aren't healthy coping mechanisms? So I think it's really how you cope with it that truly matters. But for me, like, just I think beneficial way to get through it, a tough time, is to really find your purpose and to make the most of your purpose. And people say, like, that people always question, how did I give back? Like, I did tons of volunteering right after the crash. And people are like, why? How can you give back if you're not even healed yourself? And I said, because it heals me. And it's different for everyone. Some people need that space. And even in the hospital, when I was sad, it was right after. I was going to text my roommate and I was going to check in and see how he's doing. Had a message all typed out, ready to hit send. Then I realized that he would never get it. And he wouldn't receive it on his end. He would never read the message. And that was when it all hit me. I was like, wow, this is so real. And it just all came crashing down. And I had survivor's guilt. But then the next morning, I was able to sleep a bit, woke up, and I was like, look, like, I can't be like this. How do I want the other people who aren't here? Like, if I wasn't here, how do I want people here to live their life? Like I discussed earlier, like, I don't want to be happy. And so for me, I was like, okay, like, I need to find what makes me happy and honor them in everything I can do. And so for me, I have found my happiness and I have been able to do that. So I think being sad is completely okay and it's natural, but hopefully something beneficial to get through the tough time is finding something that you love and do what makes you happy in a healthy way.
Very well said. Thanks, Kaleb. We have another question here. What gave you the courage to pull through during those hard times? Do you have a certain someone who kept you going?
That's a great question. So I have a lot of intrinsic drive and motivation, which is very beneficial for me. And I think lots of athletes do as well, especially if you're playing elite level. You have to have internal drive too. It can't just be strictly external. So for me, that was one of the big things that helped was my
So I think we're losing.
Yeah.
We lost you there for a second, Kaleb. Just give it. I think we got you back.
Are we good now?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Long story short, since we got cut off, how I get through these tough times, I really try to find the positives, and someone who kept me going in this time was my family, friends, and community, and honestly, the world. Because when you have people in your corner, you really gain strength from them. And it hurt me so much in the hospital because I had this elderly lady sitting beside me. And as she was sitting beside me, she was her, myself, and then two other Broncos. And we had a lineup outside of our door every day of people wanting to come visit us. And she had one visitor in the 7 days that I spent with her. And it just hurt my heart so much to see how much support we had and how little support she had. She was going through her own tragedy too. And so I think that one of the big things for me now is just wanting to be a support for people going through their tough times and hopefully helping them throughout their own tragedies in their life. And so what kept me going was my parents, my family, my friends, and even the ones who aren't here, the 16, and then even the survivors too, and how they were kept pushing forward. And I think you can draw inspiration from so many different people too. And internally, like I said, I wanted to go to York University so bad. I wanted to heal. I wanted to mentally, physically, emotionally be ready to go in 4 months. I also had a chip on my shoulder too, where I wanted to live my life to the fullest for those who weren't here and to live big. And so for me, that was my internal drive too, was to heal in the best way possible and in the healthiest way too.
Thank you for that. We've got a couple more questions here. So one of them is, how old were you when you started playing hockey?
I was 2 years old when I first got the skates on. First like actual hockey game would have been, I guess in a league, would have been when I would have been 6. Yeah, in Saskatoon. I was 6 years old playing Timbits hockey, where you got to like flip up your jersey and say, I played a game, can I get some Timbits? They actually had that. It was actually a thing. But that's not like that anymore. But that was when I started playing.
That's awesome. So you pretty much were walking and then right into skates.
Yeah, my parents even like have a picture of me. I don't know if I can find it, but my parents had a picture of me in skates, literally like out of the womb, pretty much like wrapped in hockey gear. It was hilarious. They like I couldn't even hold my head up, so I rested my head on my dad's helmet, and then they put gloves on me and skates. And even in the birth announcement, they said like first round draft pick of, I think it was a 2015 NHL draft or something like that. Didn't turn out to be like that, but yeah, I was raised into a hockey family for sure.
That's
Who's
awesome.
the biggest fan, your mom or your dad?
Pardon me?
Who's your biggest fan, your mom or your dad?
Oh boy, that's tough. I'd say equal. There's no way they could ever beat each other, because my mom is a huge fan, my dad's a huge fan. They're just both fans in different ways. I like it though because my mom keeps it real. She'll like be honest. If I have a bad game, she'll be like, "Hey, you played like garbage tonight," and she'll be like, "What was going on out there? You weren't yourself." Or my dad will be like, "Hey, like," it kind of goes around nice ways, like, "Hey, like, is everything okay? Like, things weren't looking the best out there. You all right?" Or my mom just keeps it real. My dad, like, a little more around the bush. But I love them both, and they're both huge fans. They're both my number one fans.
Awesome. We have one more question here. I think we're almost out of time, so we'll have time for one, possibly 2 more. But this one is: if you could come into my grade 8 class, what is the greatest piece of advice you would give students dealing with emotional struggles, especially during a pandemic that has caused isolation?
So I'm not a professional by any means, but through personal experience, I'd say one of the big things is to make it fun and engaging and try something different too. I think with emotional struggles, it's so hard, especially dependent on the situation. There's not much like detail in that, and it's hard to know what's going on at home. So if it's at home, then hopefully make school more fun for them. And if it's at school, then make it more engaging and entertaining. But online is a different beast in itself, and it's so hard for everyone, and we're still even trying to get used to it. Still, we're so used to that emotional, personal, one-on-one connection where you can actually like see the body language and understand what's going on. And even if you can see the body language, you can't do anything about it through a virtual camera, where in person you can go give a hug, you can rub their back, you can tell them it's okay. You can't do that through the camera. So I think it's so difficult, but I think making it engaging and making it as open as possible. I love these small little breakout rooms. I'm not sure if you're on a virtual, but if it's in person, then I think just trying to make it fun and entertaining, because we've all gone through so much this year. And I think just making them feel more comfortable around being themselves with each other. the masks don't help either, to be honest, because you still you block half the facial expression that you see. So if you can't even tell if someone's smiling or frowning. So.
All right. Do we think we have time for one last question in here, or?
100%. Yeah, it's all good. Bring it on.
Okay,
More
this will be
questions.
the last one then. And it is, how did having diabetes as a child impact your life? Thinking about it now, how do you feel about your experience in the beginning?
Okay, so that's a big question, and we're gonna unpack it. So for me, one of the big things was, I guess, when I first got diagnosed, it was very difficult. And it's because there wasn't much awareness around it. And you really did, I was the only person in my school with diabetes. No one really knew about it. I was always considered the different kid. But I was also, at the same time, I tried to make it a positive thing. And lots of the time, I had really great friends who really supported me throughout it. And we have fun with it. So what we do is we do test the blood sugar, or sorry, it would be guess the blood sugar. Guess the test blood sugar. It was it was tongue twister that kept it fun and entertaining. So what we do is we'd go around the little lunch. We'd sit at lunch. We'd have a little circle of us to sit at lunch, and we go around the room. I'd say what I think my blood sugar was, and then they would make guess off what I think my blood sugar is that day. So when I tested my blood sugar and we put it onto the glucose meter, and I gave a reading, whoever was the closest got one snack of my Scooby snack. So I'd have a Scooby snack at lunch, and it was one head. It'd be a head that they get to choose from. Most of them usually pick Scooby Doo. I think he was blue. But that was what it was. And it was really fun, but also taught them about diabetes, taught them awareness about where my glucose levels should be, and also made it really fun. And then growing up, I think it really did help me persevere more. And looking back on it now, I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest. I think it really developed internal resilience and strength in me, and made me have to prove myself much more than the person beside me. I think that's why I've been able to succeed still after going through certain circumstances that normally break people down. I've been able to keep pushing forward because I've had this resilience built in me from a long time as being a child with diabetes, and being looked at differently and having to go through different situations, or even having to think about other things than normal, typical children do. So I think it's built maturity, strength, resilience, and I wouldn't change anything for the world.
That is a great answer, Kaleb. One of the things that we value a lot here at Kids Up Front is fun. We truly believe that fun can help kids thrive and cope with stress and different situations, and help you achieve a lot of the things that they can achieve. And so I think you're a very great example of that, and you're also a great inspiration for a lot of other kids that hopefully are watching this, that want to watch you later, and are going to hear you in different platforms and everything. So thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, really appreciate your story. I'm going to put your contact information there a little bit bigger so that people can connect with you. So again, thank you very much. You did mention that you have a couple of your exams and things like that, so you may take a little bit of time, but so people can connect directly with Kaleb in there if anybody has any other questions, comments, and everything. Thanks for joining, everybody. Larissa, Lindsay, thank you very much for putting this together. And we'll see you in the next episode of our virtual neighborhood. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, TD, and see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. And it's an honor to be speaking to you all today. And wish you all the best as life progresses forward. I know these times are tough right now, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I just want to say thank you again, and make sure you go out there, have some fun, go outside, exercise, take some breaks, do something that makes you happy. And I always try to say, do something every day that lights your soul on fire. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Kaleb, for sharing your light with the world. You make the world a better place.
Aw, thank you.
Thanks again, everybody. Bye.
Okay. Bye.